So clearly, if you're resident here, you're resident here. But what kind of residence are we really talking about? I'll take you through a scenario that will illustrate this point. So you come to Hong Kong as a visitor, you spend 3 or 4 months looking for a job. You get a job offer. You spend 6 weeks getting your application for an employment visa considered and approved by the immigration department. And then you start working under your activated employment visa. You issue your Hong Kong identity card. You work for that employer for 2.5 years, and in the process you go on to get an extension to your first employment visa, and then you decide that you're going to leave your job. And you leave your job and you're out of work effectively for 3 months, but you've still got a valid residence visa endorsed in your passport. You then make an application to the immigration department to change your sponsorship under your employment visa, and you then get that approval and you carry on working until your current limit to stay expires, and then the immigration department give you a 1-year extension. So you're now up to about, say, 4 years of residence in Hong Kong. You spent some time working for your original sponsor, you spent some time with a residence visa but not working for that sponsor, you changed your sponsorship, and then you got an extension, you carried on moving forward. And then you decide you're going to leave at about year 5, you're going to leave that current employer and you're going to start a business for yourself. And you say you leave your employer about 3 months before your employment visa is due to expire, but it takes you about 6 months to finalize everything that you need to be in a position to make an application to the immigration department for an investment visa. So let's say at about 1 month before your current limit to stay under your employment visa is about to expire, you've got a month left, you then make an application to change your visa category from sponsored employment through to business investment, and that application takes 2 months to finalize. So at the point of you putting your application in, you've only got a month left, and then you run out of status because it takes another month for the immigration department to finalize your investment visa application. So the question is begged as to, at the point of your current visa expiring but your investment visa not having yet been approved, you go into what I call the twilight zone. And that is where you can't get an extension to your employment visa because the conditions that are relevant for an extension aren't at play in your life because you're no longer working for that prior employer. But the immigration department haven't yet finalized your investment visa application, so they haven't said yes to your continuing residence. So what do you do in that meantime, in that 1 year, in that 1 month? That's what I call the twilight zone. The immigration department go on subsequently to approve your application for the investment visa, and then you get a 1-year limit of stay, and then at the end of that 1 year you get another 1-year limit of stay, or possibly a 2-year limit of stay, and finally you fall over the line for 7 years. So the question is, in that profile, have you broken your continuity of residence in any way by virtue of the fact that you spent 3 months between jobs but you had a valid residence visa, and a little bit later on in the piece, you spent about a month out of residence visa status as the immigration department adjusted you from sponsored employment through to business investment? Does any of that break your continuity of ordinary residence under Hong Kong laws as it's practiced? Well, the short answer is no. As long as you've effectively had back-to-back residence visas throughout all of that time, or at any point in that time where you haven't had a valid period of stay manifested in your passport as a residence visa holder, you would be either in the twilight zone or in a state of administrative flux as you move from one visa state to another, and you've got an active application in the system. The immigration department don't take any of those scenarios as breaking your continuity of ordinary residence. It's only if you effectively lose a residence visa for any good reason, and then you spend an extended period of time in Hong Kong as a visitor, and normally you get to 3 or 4 months as a visitor and you don't have an active application in the system, the concept of administrative flux begins to wear thin the longer you spend under visitor visa status. And there's no hard and fast rule as to how long that is, but you'd be amazed about how many people misunderstand how immigration is practiced here and feel that because even though they've had their home here and they've had all the circumstances of their lives here, they've been here as visitors as they've adjusted from one set of circumstances to another set of circumstances. That time spent as a visitor can break the continuity of ordinary residence if you don't have an active application in the system and it gets too long to the point where the Immigration Department believe that you have abandoned your settlement by virtue of you having retained visitor status instead of having a formal residence visa. So this is how qualifying residence is perceived by the Immigration Department.